and I don't talk about this often. I don't believe you can become the type of person that succeeds, and people don't like hearing that. If you invest the energy and the thinking and everything into this, you're gonna find solutions.
People who are born and raised in these places, some of the wealthiest places that have ever been known to humankind, and they're stuck. They're stuck in like complaining.
You got good position, you make some money, and it's still so hard to live there. If you don't make money in here, in the States, it's because you don't want to. Do you see crackheads waking up in the morning and they think, oh, I don't have money to get high today? No, they get up and then make it happen. You have social security number, you in the best country in the world. I don't want to hear more. People don't have real problems here. I'm sorry. Just that's the hill I'll die on. That's it.
Hello, my wonderful listeners, and welcome to this week's CATAMANIA episode. I have a really exciting guest today. You may have seen an interview of her. That's how I found her, actually, online, going viral. A really inspirational one, and I was like, I absolutely have to talk to this girl. She's a fellow immigrant who lives in the United States. She's an entrepreneur. She's the founder of Lashmakers, and she's going to be an inspiration. Just trust me on that. Miss Elena Asher, welcome to CATAMANIA.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight in because everybody's going to want to know, and I want to know too. So tell me a little bit about how you moved here, because I know in that interview you mentioned you moved here with $74 in your pocket.
Yeah, not with much money. So it's a bit of a long story, but I'm gonna try to kind of give you the short version. I didn't come. I'm from Russia originally, and I didn't come from Russia to the States straight away. I was born in Russia, in Siberia actually, and when I was still very, very young, maybe 2 years old, 3, we moved to Kazakhstan. So I didn't grow up in Russia. And from Kazakhstan, when I turned 13, my family actually immigrated to Israel from there. Then, once I moved to Israel, because I was 13 years old, I was already kind of, you know what you like, what you don't like. And I already knew that I want to live somewhere else. In my mind, it was always Europe. I don't know why. I thought always that I belong more in Europe, maybe because it was just how different the Middle East is. But when I turned 20, I wanted to go ahead and try to move to Europe. And so I went to Sweden. And I had a little job there. It's funny because, when people say, oh, but how you came with so little money, how did you survive? So what I did, there was companies in Israel that you could work with. Is basically, I don't know, whoever goes in the mall is going to know what I'm talking about. You go in the mall, and then there's these kiosks in between the stores that try to stop you and give you a little sample of cosmetic products. So they try to curl your hair, and they sell straighteners and curling irons and stuff. So these companies recruit from other countries, and this is what I've done. The good thing about it, the whole concept was not the money, because this is where the catch is. So it's the type of work, because they don't pay you anything. So you have to only work for commission. So you didn't sell anything a whole day, you got paid zero. And so you really have to be very resilient person to do that. You have to work very long hours. We didn't have shifts. You open the mall and you close the mall. and you do 6 7 days a week, because of course there are bad days and there's slow days, and at the end of the day it's going to be the amount of money that you made. And so that's the hard part of it. Now, what was nice about it is that they give you like a little employee apartment. So you live with people, you have your own bedroom, but you usually would live a 2 3 bedroom apartment, sometimes four if it's a bigger place. And they give you a car, one car for each apartment, so you can get to the mall and back. And so they charge you for that apartment out of your paycheck each week as they pay you. And that was how I could do that. And so I went to Sweden first. I lasted 4 months because this type of sales, it's impulsive sales. So you grab a person and they want it and they buy it right away. If they don't, it's just not the type of person to buy the product right there, right now. And you want them to buy it right there, right now, because that's your money that day, right? And so that's the type of job that I did. And Europeans, and I think you would agree with me on this, they're not very impulsive buyers. In Europe, you usually get paid once a month, and the taxes are very high. So they're more of a very calculative type of crowd. They don't buy quickly, they plan their purchases. And so it's very, very hard to do that business in Europe. So I basically stayed there for 4 months, spent all the money that I had left. I had nothing left. But when I went to Sweden, I bought round trip tickets. So I always knew that if anything, I'll just go back home. And it was about Christmas time. It was getting close to Christmas. This is where this business is gets most interesting, because all of the holidays, and now a lot of people buy gifts, and the spending power a little bit more loose. And I said, you know what? Instead of going back to Israel now, I want to go to the States just for the holidays, maybe for 3 4 weeks, to make the money and go back. Kind of with the same company, they have kiosks in different cities and
So
countries.
they could transfer you, kind of thing? Is
Yes.
that- yeah.
So the problem is nobody can transfer you, because now they say we need you here, we need you in this location. So that it just was different issues. So they didn't want me to go, really, and I didn't have money to buy the ticket either. So it was a little bit tough situation. They finally agreed, because they knew I don't have money. So they said, okay, you can go, but she's not gonna get there anyway. And so one of my friends that I worked with was going to New York, but she was one of the managers and she was supposed to go. And I begged her to buy me a ticket. And I told her, she agreed, and I said, yeah, but I can't pay you, right away. I will need to make some money, and give you the money back for the ticket. So I don't know when I'm gonna pay you, because I'm thinking in Sweden we didn't make any money. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I had to go. And so she bought me the ticket. We went together. And we got there the day before Black Friday. We got there at 11 o'clock at night. And the day after, we got up at 4 in the morning, because the mall opened up, I believe it was 5:30 or something like that, crazy, for Black Friday. And this is when I went. And I didn't speak English. I don't want to say at all, because what I did know in English, it's the speeches about the product. So you literally would just learn, because I didn't speak, I couldn't communicate in English. And you would learn the little descriptions of the products, and just basic questions that they might ask you and what to answer, but very, very little. So I would just tell you about the product in my bad English, and if you ask me anything about it, I would just say it's really good. It's good. And I just start all over again, repeating about the product. So that's how I was selling. Now, me coming from Europe for months, I come a little overly aggressive, a little overly intense. Now, Americans are a little bit more, they good shoppers. The money is a little bit more free here. Tax is not as high. And Americans love to shop. Americans like malls and buying things and trying new things. It's just a different crowd. And it was a nuclear combination. Me coming so hungry and so intense after not making any money for a few months and not having any. Long story short, I made $600 that same day in commissions. And it was so much easier in sales in the States than it was in Europe. And that's how, honestly, by luck or whatever that is, that's how I started here. So I was making money doing these jobs in the malls. It was very tough. It's very tough. And mentally very tough. It's not for someone that can accept rejection, can accept ignoring very easily. You really learn just to, okay, then you don't want it, it's great. Oh, well, thank you for your time. And that's how kind of also I'm thankful for this job, because it also taught you that part. So this is where you leave your sensitivity. This is where you stop caring about how people think about you or how they see you or rejection. You literally leave all of that at that job after a little while. You don't have that anymore. People sometimes ask me, oh, well, how do you deal with negativity online? And how do you deal with, the negative comments and offensive? I don't care. You can't, after that job, and it's kind of like one of the videos that you posted about Russia and all that stuff, kind of like the mental training. You can't offend me. You can't get
Russia
through
is not
me.
for beginners.
No, exactly. So even though I didn't grow up in Russia, but it's very, very similar.
It's similar.
In Kazakhstan,
all of ex-USSR republics, it's the same thing.
Exactly. And it's like, this is what that job did for me. It just, it was special kind of mental training, and I'm thankful, because this has changed me as a person, although it was very miserable at times, and it was hard, but it really allowed me to get here and start my life here, and I didn't have to depend on anyone, and that's what it did for me. That's how I got here.
That's how the entrepreneurial fire started to burn in you.
Yeah.
Did you speak Swedish when you were in Sweden?
No,
No,
they
it
all
was
speak English for the most part.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
For sure. When did you so I want to actually just focus for a second on the whole rejection part. Did you have in the beginning a little bit of a, like, would you get hurt when people would reject you?
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning is a disaster, mental disaster, because that's the whole interaction between you and your potential client. You're in the middle of the mall, and people just walking by, nobody noticing you. You have to reach out to the person. Hi, excuse me, and whatever started the conversation.
You have to come
somehow.
up to them
And a lot of them, most say, no, thank you, no.
In best case scenario, right? Sometimes they're probably like really, they could get annoyed or
And so just to bring a scenario, if you in the mall and it's 3:00 midday, you know what I'm saying, and you've been there since 9 and you haven't made $1, it's really start pressing on you. Now you start getting worried, you start overthinking, and now that rejection it's like a snowball of bad emotions sometimes in the beginning, and it's not for the weak. Let me tell you, it's not for the weak. A lot of people that try this type of sales, just in general, I'm not talking about working in the mall, particularly that work, but I'm talking about working strictly for commission and dealing with rejection. It really, you either survive, and it changes you, and it makes you more resilient towards the rejection, the ignoring, the even negativity. It really changes you,
Yeah.
the personality, or you just have a meltdown and you leave. So it's whichever. And I always also, because of that, because I watch so many people doing this type of work, working in sales, strictly in sales, dealing with people, especially when you reach out to, you try to pull the client that is not interested in what you have. It's a different thing if I sell something that people have the need in, so they give me a call or something like that, and they're looking for, I don't know, solar panel or blinds or I don't know, something like that, and you made a sale and you made a commission. That's one thing. Or real estate, somebody reached out to you, they're looking for a house, they're looking for apartment, and you're there to help. You found it, great, you got paid. But when you are trying to grab a person that they have no interest in what you have to sell, and you have those few minutes to convince them they need it, to show them how good that can be for them, and that's how your sale goes, I think that's the absolute toughest,
Yeah.
in those types of sale. And so I really, over the years, which I ended up doing 4 years of that job, you really see and you learn. You really watch people and you understand right away if they're gonna stay or not. Because as we speak about making money, just becoming successful, I think the core is the resilience, and it's the type of person. When people ask, a lot of times that's what people want to know, but how to become successful, but how do you make money? And people think it's a instructions type of deal, or there is a secret sauce. There is something that you just go and do, and that's how the money is made. But the reality, it's not the money. It's not the focus on making the money or making a business work. It's the type of person. I don't believe you can become the type of person that succeeds. And people don't like hearing that. And I don't talk about this often. But you can see it on children most of the time. You look at 8-year-old and you see them go-getters, and they so resilient, and they kind of figure things out on their own. And you kind of can sense that this is going to be something nuclear when they grow up.
So you think people aren't, or you think people are born or not born entrepreneurial?
I believe it's the circumstances in early life and how you're affected by your surroundings and people that raise you, that you interact with, that you build those qualities.
Yeah.
And so it can be both ways. It can be in bad circumstances where you fight or flight type of child growing up, because things are, the circumstances and the surroundings kind of force you to survive and force you to grow up fast and figure things out, pay attention and find solutions. Or it can be the good part of it, the good supportive system. When people invest in you, in your education and development, and help you learn to find solutions, help you learn to be resourceful. So one way or another, you're gonna find out. And so I personally, just kind of out of the experience of interaction of with adults, I usually can tell very fast
Who is
what
who?
kind of person. Yes.
Yeah.
Also working in a beauty business, having a salon, hiring. When I tell you that you hire sometimes and you kind of already know, but you hire anyways because you need to grow a team, you need someone, and you need to fulfill that position, so you hire what you have. And you're already gonna know what's gonna happen. And you always right at the end. It's fascinating. You really can tell. You really can tell. I would teach people for free because I am a good. I'm good with people, with particularly women. Women, not people. Women. I'm good with trying to understand the backstory, trying to listen. I'm good with that because as I'm in a beauty business, I already learned if I have someone, a woman that is a hard worker and resourceful and a good person, kind person, and all they need in life sometimes it's a little help, a little opportunity. And so that's what I like, you know. And when I tell you, I train people for free. I would teach them for free just to help them to get the new profession and in hopes to better their life. And it worked sometimes. And sometimes I would teach them free. I would give them all the products. I would even give them the keys to my studio with all the equipment. And I'll say, here, just come. Just come every day, just practice. Just get model. Go get your friends something and bring it and get it going. And they wouldn't come. They would not come. Or they will come a couple of times and that's it. Usually the excuse would be, I can't find any models. Nobody wants to help me, you know, to practice, stuff like that. Silly excuses. And this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what people would do for that type of person. Whoever doesn't want to come up, they're not going to come up. You can give them all the resources. You can teach them. You can be the best support system. They don't want to. They say they do. They maybe even believe they do because all they see is financial gain. They just want their life easier. But a lot of people don't realize that it's not about the money. It's about the personality. It's about having genuine interest in what you do. It's people that it's important for them to have something to wake up to. It's people that don't know how to function in daily life if they have nothing to do. They get sad. It's the personality. And then it's out of that personality, there's different traits to it that just come with it naturally, as dedication, as the desire to get better in your stuff, desire to keep developing, just being better. You can't have those traits without that personality.
Yeah.
And so that's just my input on.
That's that whole thing, you know. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's that whole thing. Why do some people succeed no matter what? Like, no matter how hard life hits them, no matter what's going on, they come out of the situation and they find a way. And then there are others who could have all the resources in the world. Like, I always bring up the example, and I'm not trying to generalize because there's so many successful people in this beautiful country and then up north in Canada too, you know. But it's interesting to me how many immigrants who come here with absolutely nothing reach levels of unimaginable success. And then there are people who were born, and this is something that I emphasize a lot, like even in my content, there are people who are born and raised in these places, some of the wealthiest places that have ever been known to humankind, and they're stuck. They're stuck in like complaining, they're stuck in talking about how they don't have enough resources.
Mentality.
That's why. That's exactly why.
It's a type of person.
It's a type of person, and it's a type of. But do you believe that could be shifted, that could be changed if you maybe realize it and take personal responsibility over that?
You know what? I do believe that it's possible. And unfortunately, the only way it's going to shift is through suffering. It's not going to be me grabbing you for motivational conversation, convincing you that if you do so and so, it's going to be good for you. It's not, unfortunately, it's not through those nice, kind ways.
You're right.
It's going to be through suffering. Is when the person has it bad over and over and over again. And until that moment that they say, this is enough, I can't take no more of this. And it's squeezing you into start thinking into different directions and look for solutions. And this is where it's possible. But it's going to be through suffering. It needs to be this bad for some people to shift,
To wake up.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's never happening in a nice, good ways.
Do you think that's why there's a bit of a situation we're experiencing? And again, I keep going back in both of our countries where people just, they got spoiled a little bit. Because, you and I'm sure you share the sentiment. We came here to this part of the world alone. We had to build it all from scratch. We didn't really have any help. And I'm ridiculously grateful to be in this part of the world.
Absolutely.
Like, I wake up every day thinking, wow, I'm so blessed to be, I have, again, my reservations about Canada now, but I'm so happy. Like, my Canadian citizenship is the greatest achievement of my life. It gave me freedom. And you and I operate from that sentiment of gratitude and this healthy level of constant hunger and drive. It's like, okay, let's work. Let's make things happen. I made it to a place where I can make things happen. Whereas, again, not everybody, there's a lot of people who share that sentiment who are from here, but a lot of people have this sense of almost, they've never experienced life outside of here.
Exactly.
They haven't had their freedoms taken away from them. They haven't had a situation where their passport doesn't allow them to go anywhere in the world. Right?
Absolutely. It's one of my triggers, to be honest with you. I don't have many, but I've been in Miami for quite some time, and you talk to people that were born in Miami, and they'll tell you, I hate Miami. Oh, you can't tell me that. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And it's, you know what? This is what you said because of the experiences. And that right there is the most of it. Because like we just talked about it, about suffering part of it, about having it hard. Because in our countries where we grow up, it takes so much to get anywhere because the resources are so limited. The economy is so, I'm going to say it softly, not allowing
Yes.
much
Exactly.
in terms of the businesses and personal success. And so we already wired to work so hard to get anywhere at all. And it's still hard to live that life. Even if you got the job, you went to university, you educated, you got good position, you make some money, and it's still so hard to live there. And this is where the breaking point happens for whoever says, I'm going to go and move a whole entire country. That is exactly the breaking point. You say, I'm doing everything that I possibly can. I work like 4 people. I do everything. I really do. And it's not working. What is the next? I'm out of here. And so this is when you make such a big switch, such a big change, literally life-changing event. And you come with all that drive and you're already in that hustle mode. And you're already in that, it's kind of like your routine almost. You wake up in the morning and you already think, what is it that I can do to make my life better today? Because you already wired this way because of hard life and limited resources. So all of a sudden we get here and everything is available to you. Everything is available to you. The economy is better. There's just literally more money to make in here.
Yeah.
And small businesses are thriving. And all of these things, it's like, to me, honestly, it was like heaven on earth.
Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't believe it. I realized the very first day that I got to United States that if I just want to work, I will make money. That's all it is.
Yeah.
If you don't make money here in the States, or In Canada, in one of those countries with good economies and opportunities and resources, if you don't make money in here, in the States, it's because you don't want to.
Yeah.
So when people start bringing all these reasons in my industry, for example, why they cannot take a training, proper training, go and learn how to do lashes properly, so you can offer good quality service, or why they cannot pay for something, a course or products, better products. Oh, this is so expensive. This is too expensive. I don't have money for this. I don't have money for that. We never had money for anything. It's not about the money. I have an example that you're probably going to have to cut it out of your podcast, but it's about crackheads. Do you see crackheads waking up in the morning and they think, oh, I don't have money to get high today? No, they get up and make it happen.
I'm not going to cut that out. I'm just letting you know.
I'm just saying.
No, but it's true.
If you obsessed
find,
with it.
Yeah, you always find a way. It's true.
Absolutely. You don't see different choice. You don't see different choice. You see one thing in front of you. You say, I need to get this done no matter what. And so when people come to me with these excuses, oh, I can't because I don't have the time. I can't because I don't have the money. I don't have all of these things. Just say you don't want to. Say I don't want to. I don't make money because I don't want to. And you know what? I'll take it and I won't judge you. I never judge you for anything at all. It's your business. But you know what? I'll respect you more. I'll say, okay, absolutely.
At least you're honest, right?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
That's it. But you know what? When people start these life stories and why everything is so hard and everything is so impossible. Listen, you have English, you have social security number, you in the best country in the world. I don't want to hear more.
Yeah.
You don't want to. And that's the hill I'll die on. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I think I would be curious to bring up the statistic at some point and talk about it in my podcast. But there was like a crazy statistic where the rate of success in immigrants specifically it was United States of America was like incredibly high. So basically if you are a landed immigrant who like immigrated to United States, your level of success is pretty much guaranteed because of what's it called? I think Tony Robbins said that you don't like resources, you like resourcefulness, right? So the resourcefulness part of it, that drive of, no, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to make it work because I made it to a place where I can make it work, right? I don't have these limitations that I had back home anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really is about this. You're always going to have two options. You either can accept the reality and say, well, this is it. And I have nothing else to do with it. Or you say, no, I'm going to change this. And you focus on what are the options? What can I do? Even if it's the smallest thing that will make all of this better. What is it that I can do right now? And this is what creates success in any perception. It's what is it that I can do that can get me a little bit closer to where I want to be. And this is when you find solutions because you're looking. If you invest the energy and the thinking and everything into this, you're going to find solutions.
Yeah, you find what you look for.
You focus on obstacles, all you're going to see is problems. And that's why I always will believe that it's a personality. It's the personality of the person. And so in my business particularly, once I understood that, it made it so much easier to how much time I take to deal with people and how short or long conversations are, is from a little exchange of a couple of sentences, you really just can tell, okay, you know what, I should wrap this up. Because
or like, I should actually invest in this person because it's going to be a success.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
I
a
love
personality.
That. At what point, you were obviously working that job that got you transferred to US, which, by the way, you mentioned you had to go. Like, you had to go to US. Was it something that you had to because you knew you could potentially make more money there? Or did you just have a feeling like, hey, I have to get in?
Because it was holidays.
Okay.
It was the whole Black Friday that is huge in the States, and the Christmas shopping, all of these things. And I was right around that time. So
Yeah.
I say, okay, I have no money left.
Yeah.
So I need to turn around and go back home.
Yeah.
But I'm already few days before this huge opportunity, and I just have to try this before I go home, and that's what I mean. I had to go and see if this is actually going to turn out the way I think it will, and it did.
Yeah.
It did, and I just ended up staying. From one thing to another, life happens, but it was the best thing. It was the best. The decision to leave, to change everything, is needed sometimes.
Before we jump to the subject of how you started the lash business and how you got into beauty industry at this level, do you think maybe immigrants have some kind of, like, people who leave their countries and make such a huge life change? Do you think they're more prone to being more entrepreneurial in life in general because they take such a huge risk of like leaving everything that's familiar to them?
Absolutely, because it takes so much of you to leave everything that you know, everything where you live, the people that you grew up with,
Yeah.
your family. This is, I think, it's enormous decision that is so hard.
Yeah.
And so if you're capable of making such a decision, how easy is that? Just go to work every day now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything else is easy compared to that. So if you already took that huge leap of faith and you already relocated, everything else is just part of the journey from there. So it's just that it's the traits
Yeah.
of that person already. It's already in them.
Yeah.
And from there, speaking of entrepreneurship, it's either that you're just very resourceful, or another type of such people, just very hard working.
Yeah.
And so they might not have their own businesses, something out of ordinary.
But they'll be like the best at the company,
They're gonna
100%.
be working, and they don't get annoyed, they don't get tired from their job, they just keep going, and they keep going. We see this all the time here in the States. Some of the immigrants that are just workers, and they do their job 20, 30, 50 years in the same type of job.
Right.
If it's cleaning, even if it's something like that, if it's construction, if it's childcare, they are so dedicated to their work. They're hard working people.
Yeah. They
And
become
so
pretty much like the best at that trade or whatever
it's
it
just
is.
hardworking
Yeah.
people, exactly.
100%.
So either way, if you become a business person or you go to work, you get a job, either way, this is the type of person that there's no way back. It's full force.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you. You said not a lot of things trigger you, but the one thing that does, and it's the same for me. Like whenever people say like, "Oh, I don't like it here," like this country, leave. You have the freedom to do it. You
Exactly.
have the passport that allows you to travel anywhere you want in the world and even live anywhere you want in the world. Leave. Just leave, experience life somewhere else. Because I guarantee you, when you come back, you'll be
It's
like, you know what?
unbelievable. One of my friends, she's in a lash business too. She's from Russia, and she has very successful salon in Las Vegas. And her son was born here, and he's 16 years old now. And he was all about communism, and he was feeling oppressed. The conversations that she would tell me about, he never struggled with anything in his
Right.
life. My friend is extremely successful, and her husband as well. He's in IT industry, and so both very, very successful people. And you know what she did? She sent him to Russia for a summer.
I was just going to say,
She
that's
sent
what
him
I
to,
would do. Yeah.
yes. And it's not even that communism that you and me know, but
Right.
he came back.
And it's not even that bad there, like, anymore.
Exactly. But even that, he
Yes.
came back kissing her feet.
Yes.
He he came back a changed kid,
Yeah.
and he was saying things that, I will never say that again. And he was just apologizing.
Yeah.
And he just flipped his entire view on life in general, because if you don't know why we hustling so hard,
Right.
why do we go so hard? Because it's either to go hard or you go back.
Yeah.
You go back home. And that's the one thing that we're not going to do.
Yeah.
It took so much to leave,
Yeah.
and I'm already here.
Yeah.
Going back is basically the worst scenario. The worst scenario is no longer not making enough money, or not making it happen soon enough. That's not the worst scenario anymore. Worst scenario is I am back where I came from.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have that, when you born in such a beautiful country, everything is available to you, and people, I'm sorry, but unless you have illness and you have something that is really on the way of you making your living, people don't have real problems here. I'm sorry.
It's true.
They don't have
You're
real
right.
problems.
Yeah.
People that born in America with the language, with the rights, with all the resources here, everything they have
freedom.
available, they born free. And I'm sorry, but they have nothing to complain about. Nothing. They don't have real problems. They don't. And that's why it's the, oh, I hate it here. Oh, I hate Miami, or whatever other
It's like, no, you're
places.
just lazy. You're just lazy.
And they don't know. That's the ignorance. They don't know. Go spend some time in Guatemala. Go
Yes.
spend some time in Cuba. Places like that. Go just look how people live there. When you go to the store is open, but there's nothing on the shelves.
Yeah.
You know why they don't have dogs and cats on the streets in Cuba? Because they eat them. It's things like that people don't want to hear with their little sensitive ears. People don't want to compare. People want to compare to the better, who is more rich.
The 0.01%
People
of
don't
the
wanna
1%
exactly.
that you already are, because you are the 1% that you claim to so passionately despise. You are, because you're born here. You're right there just because your mother gave birth to you in this part of the world. You
win.
You already won, and you have everything available to you. The fact that you don't see that is just willful ignorance or laziness. Or
You
both.
compare to where is better.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be somebody richer than you,
Of
somebody
course.
younger than you, more beautiful, smarter, all of the things. And the key is, if you're going to compare to something worse.
I
That's
like
what
that.
they don't have.
I like that. If you're
Look
going to
at the other
compare to
side.
something worse. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And be grateful. I said this to somebody the other day, that I almost wish that in Canada and United States, I mean, I'm not particularly a fan of the government mandating something on like a personal level much. Like I'm really not into that.
No government is perfect, of course.
No government is perfect. But I feel like there would be a benefit to having some kind of mandatory field trip after high school here to go somewhere. You don't even have to go to like a very underdeveloped country, but a country with less opportunities. And for a year, you'd have to survive. You'd have to find a way to survive to make money there.
That would be really nice.
I think it would be helpful.
And that would be very, very interesting to watch.
Yes, yes. Let's talk about what was the point where you decided to leave the job that you moved here for, or with the help of, I guess, and transition into what you currently do. And was that right away the first step that you took, or was there something in between?
I was working in a beauty store. So from working in the kiosks, I transferred to the same job, but it was a store now.
So you didn't
At
have
the
to run up to
store,
people as much.
you would have to stand outside.
Oh, I
It's
see.
on.
So you still had to.
It's here. It's called Lincoln Road in South Beach. So it's like an open mall type of thing, and you would have to stand outside the store. It's just the same. You stop everybody just like that. And I got obsessed. It's kind of like one thing dragged another. I got obsessed with strip lashes. I would put them every single day, and I loved them so much. It's like became this one thing that in my mind completely changes your whole face, and it just would make me feel so much prettier and looking so much fresher. I don't know what it is about lashes. And so I discovered, instead of the strips, clusters, which is the little pieces of, it's kind of like a lash strip if you cut it in little pieces. So they sell them in pharmacies and stuff, and beauty stores. And so you would glue it between your lashes on your skin. So I graduated to that, and I was coming like this to work. And since I was working with a lot of women, because it's a cosmetic store and hair products and such, they would look at me and they would ask me about it. Oh, what is this? And I would say, oh, it's just clusters. Can you do it for me? And I would tell them, listen, you just go to CVS or any store like that, and you just get them and you put it. I'm really not good with that. Can you just do it for me? I'll pay you. So I speak to the manager of the store and ask him permission to buy some of it, and I can offer it as a service right there. You just sit down on a chair and I'll just put it on you. And so they said yes. We were charging $40 to put clusters on you. It was unbelievable. And this is when it blew my mind completely, because I'm just, you grow up, you kind of like put things on yourself. If it's lashes or if it's makeup, you learn how to do your hair. The reality is some people don't like to do that, or they just don't know and they don't care to
Myself
learn.
included. I really love it, but I have that syndrome, ruki rastushi iz žopy, that we have in Russian. When it comes to putting on eyelashes, it's ridiculous, and you need to teach me. But sorry, go ahead.
And so that's exactly
Yeah.
my point. So
I
you're
always
the
get
perfect
somebody else.
customer. And so this is when I realized the service is very profitable, and it's in high demand, and we can totally do this. And so we started from clusters, and then from one thing to another, I by accident, I bumped into someone, a lady that was doing lash extensions as her work. She just came from UK, so she learned there. She was new to Miami. She didn't have any clients, and I was one of her first clients, and she was doing my lashes. And the first time I did it, I just couldn't believe it. I looked at my lashes and I couldn't believe the difference. You go through the lash strips, you go to the clusters. Now this is completely different level of it. And I just thought is the most crazy thing in the world. And in my head, I'm just thinking, who wouldn't want this? What woman wouldn't want to wake up in the morning and already have it on? It's like mascara, but it's perfect.
Yeah, it's the
And
best.
it doesn't smudge, and it doesn't go away. You only have to touch it up every 3 weeks or so, roughly. This is amazing. This sounds really, really good. And at the time, it was no Instagram, and that's how old I am. And it was no Instagram, and it was Yelp, and you could Google things. And so that's how you would find service providers, right? So I Googled, just out of curiosity, where else it can be done. And I only found 2 more people that were doing it. And I went and I tried to get my lashes done with these people as well. Very quickly, I realized that the level of how it can be done, how good or bad that is, are very significant. It's a very big difference. And so the next thing was I went and asked one of these lash artists to teach me, and she said no, because she didn't want to create competition. And I went to another one. She said no. And so nobody out of the three girls were willing to train me.
Did they tell you we didn't want, like, no, I'm not teaching my method?
Because they wanted to remain the only one of a few.
Right.
And so I went on YouTube and I learned the most basic way of doing it, not the good way, but I learned. And I bought some supplies from, back then it was straight from eBay. There was no good lash companies to buy lashes and glues, and this industry is very, very young. And so I would buy my supplies straight from Asia and try to practice. I would get people, lay them on my couch right in my house. It was no really, oh, let's get a beauty chair, let's get a massage table to make the person comfortable. Or let me get a better chair so I don't have to work in the position of a shrimp for hours. It wasn't even, we weren't even that far. It was about, how do I glue this lash on you? How can we make it possible? And I would just lay the person on the couch and I sit right here on the side on the little chair and I would just do it this way. And
you worked with what you had at that moment.
Absolutely. And it was the best thing in the world. And I couldn't believe how it made these women feel and how excited they were about this little change. And from there, one thing to another, this brings her friend, this brings her sister, word to mouth. And I quit the beauty store because now I was lashing 6 days a week. Sometimes, or even on a Sunday, I would have someone as extra. And it was always someone that wanted to get it done. And so I was working full time. It allowed me to quit that job, that hard, annoying job that I had for a few years.
That you've been wanting to quit for so long.
It was just, yes, one of the goals became to quit that at some point, because that is very, very hard to do. And that's how I started. And at some point, you really start to think, how can I make this better? And there was no really classes available. Now, you look at Eastern Europe, for example, they've been doing that a few years prior. Us.
Beauty industry there is like a whole other level, for sure.
And so eyelash extensions in Eastern Europe, probably 10 years ahead of us. And so I said, you know what? I speak the language and I'm going to go and learn. And so I started going to Russia and Kazakhstan to learn how to do this better. So I would go back to the States. And since it was no classes, no known artists, people will come and take my class. Now, I had the advantage at the time as well that, well, you can't go anywhere else, and it costs me to go there, the time and all of that effort. And I say, can be cheap. So I would price my classes reasonably, but not too low. And it was very good money teaching. And so that's how it changed into an academy little by little, because I started with private courses. Then all of a sudden I would train 3 people a week, one by one. So I said, okay, you know what? We're going to group them up. Then people start reaching out. This is when Instagram happened. People started reaching out from other cities and asking me, are you by any chance going to come to New York? Are you going to LA, Dallas? And I say, wait a minute, this is opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I would just post a class and I'll let people know this is where I'm going and this is the date, and just see if people are going to sign up. And sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. And then I would figure out where it's better to go, what cities are a little bit more central, and book up a little bit faster. And I would just focus on that. And then another issue was in place. It's the products. Because we used to, like I said, we used to buy it straight from Korea, straight from China. So it was eBay, it was Amazon a little bit later on, because at that time Amazon didn't have much. So it was mostly from eBay.
Can you imagine there was a time where Amazon didn't have much?
I know, it was
Yeah,
crazy, not for lashes.
right.
And so I would train someone, and what I had to do is I would buy adhesive, lashes, tweezers, eye patches, all the accessories, and I'll get them a little kit so you can basically start practicing and you know what to use. And I would give them links, all the sellers, where I got it from. And in a month, they would contact me, say, hey, this link for glue is no longer working. Do you have another one? And I became like a customer service for eBay and Amazon to get those supplies. And they weren't even good. And so I started doing my own research. I figured I'll do basic things. I'll do glue, I'll do tweezers, I'll do lashes. And so I started just from that, and I researched the companies. I got samples, and from one thing to another, from me just giving it inside of the kit, the person will contact me back in a few weeks and say, I ran out of glue. Can I just buy another one from you? I wasn't selling them. I was putting them in the kits, in the boxes. And this is when I say, wait a minute, I can sell this. Now I would sell it out of my house. So you would just come in person and pick it up. And later I started doing shipments too. I would just send you a little invoice through PayPal. You would tell me over Instagram what is it that you would like. And I would go and ship it like a regular package, charging you through PayPal. So that's how I did it. And it was more and more and more. I had people knocking on my door at 9 p.m. like a drug dealer for a bottle of glue. It was ridiculous. And more people wanted to have it shipped. Back then, I was doing USPS, this snail mail, and it would be lost, and it would be so long, and it would be no customer service. And so little by little, I did that part. I organized that part. I said, I'm gonna do a website. I have to put it somewhere and sell it through the website. And that was like a crazy idea at the time. And people say, you're crazy, you're gonna put $4,000 on a website. What if you don't sell anything? And I said, I gotta do it. And so I did the website. I ended up contacting FedEx, UPS, to see if they can give me better rates as a business. And they did. And so now the shipments got faster. It was more organized. Barely anything got lost now. And it was much better set up. And that's how I started the product company. And little by little, it was okay. Well, I have these three things, and the kind of silly looking on the website. Also, you go in and it's three things on there. Let's do more lashes variations. Let's do eye patches. Let's do tapes. Let's do. Right now, Lashmakers has 118 products that are included in line. And so that's how that started. I never thought, oh, let me go and create a whole entire line. It wasn't like that. It was just kind of resolving the current issues little by little. And this is where I ended up. And at some point, I opened a studio. It was a studio. I said, I need somewhere to ship these things from, because at some point, my house was covered in boxes. I had no floor. It was all inventory because I was shipping from my house for a very long time. And I opened up a studio. I said, wait a minute, now when I open a studio, I can have a little more space. Maybe I can get some people to lash in that space as services. And we did that. So now we had a studio, we had an office, shipping office, and I had one person lashing, ended up 5 after a few months only. And that's how I ended up with a salon. I didn't plan to have a salon. And so eventually I wasn't taking clients anymore. It was only training, local and traveling. I travel once a month roughly to different cities to do those classes. And it became 3 companies out of 1. So this is where we are today by, I don't know, by luck. I don't know what it is.
I don't think it's luck. It sounds to me like you were literally solving one by one. I don't want to call it a problem, but there was an opportunity, there was a gap that needed to be filled in, you would fill it in.
Exactly.
Another gap, you filled it in. Another gap, you filled it in. You solved problems.
I
one
never
by
wanted
one.
a business. I never, it was never the goal. I just was doing something and I really liked it. And I really wanted to be the best at it. So I started those classes and the products were the same thing. I wanted a good glue. I wanted a good tweezers, the best tweezers.
And instead of waiting for that to happen at some point, you were like,
just
no,
did
I'm going to do it.
And my return policies were always, I say to people, you don't like it, you used it, it's open, I'll still take it back. And I always did that because my priority was always to give you the absolute best that I can possibly give you. And so this is how Lashmakers happened. And at the moment, the biggest part of my business is the merchandise. This is what makes the most money. And then the number 2 is the training. And so when people, how you found me from that little interview, there was a lot of good supportive comments and people were very kind and some people were like, well, you're a liar. Well, nobody does all this money from lashes. I never said I'm doing clients at this point. I've been in this business for 13 years. My business is merchandise.
Right.
And then
you made
out
your
of
money from
that,
entrepreneurship.
that's
not
how I
from-
started.
Exactly, yeah.
I started as lash artist, but my business is still lashing. And people, of course, it's the arrogance and people don't know, and that's fine. And that's why
But
I
it's
can mind
also
it.
an excuse, right? Like they see, and instead, like I looked at it and I was like, "Whoa, this is inspiring. I need to learn more from this woman." I feel like my audience would vibe with her. Like I have to talk to you. But my thinking was like, "Wow, that's so cool. She must have scaled her business. She must have scaled her
The
skills
overnight
to a whole
success
other level."
scenario.
Yeah.
It's never overnight. It's the 13 years later.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, I work a lot.
Yeah.
And this is what people don't understand. They look at me sometimes, from that same comment section. It's pretty interesting. Sometimes I don't care about the negative comments. I really don't. But sometimes I go and I read just to see how far your imagination will bring you.
Yeah.
Because
Just for shits and giggles.
oh my God, people really get so creative
Yeah.
to be nasty and rude and
Yeah, for sure.
and I of course I get it. People say, oh yeah, you came with this little money. How did they give you visa from Russia? I didn't come from Russia.
Yeah.
Getting visa from being Israeli is way easier. I
Right.
don't know anything. I got DMs after that little interview. I got DMs. Hey, I'm in Russia. How can I get visa? I say, I haven't been in Russia in
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
35 years.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not how I got here.
Yeah.
And must be the man. What man helped you? Tag the man. There was no man. You know what? I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I wish I could get a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
I wish I could just have that mentality, have someone. I don't care how old they are. I don't care what they look like. They just
Yeah.
pay. I wish I could do it. My life would be so easy.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Right.
I can't. I'm unable to. I always worked and I made my own money. I worked since 13 years old.
Yeah.
I'm about to be 37, so do the math.
Yeah.
I'm working for 24 years. That's how long I've worked. I've never in my life had anyone giving me $1. Never.
People love to make excuses. Again, it's the laziness. They would rather, instead of being like, "Oh, I wonder what this girl did to get to the level that she's at."
They
they're
comments
like,
of, OnlyFans. OnlyFans. Why she doesn't mention OnlyFans? It's just so crazy. Like you said, it's such a lazy comment.
Yeah.
That's the best you
they
can
just
do.
want to make themselves feel better for not having the the fire and the work ethic, quite frankly,
Some
to get to the
people-
level that you're at. That's
Some
all.
people, it just doesn't matter if you do everything right. They're always going to look, what is it that you're doing wrong? If you're doing well, must be something that you cut the corners, or you won a lottery or something of life.
Of course.
It's the type of person, and it's always going to be both sides. The people that are very supportive, so kind, and that's the majority.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And this is the people that I am here for, and this is the people that I care about. But people sometimes cannot accept when you're successful or good looking, and God forbid you're both.
Yeah.
If you're successful and good looking, oh no, this must be everything else is wrong with you, and everybody helped you, and none of this is yours. And I get this all the time. I get this all the time. Nobody looks at the man and say, oh, somebody helped you in life, somebody gave it to you. No, it's the women always, especially if you're pretty. Well, you're pretty, you probably was helpful in life. Pretty doesn't make you money in regular jobs. You know what I'm saying? Because in that case, every pretty person would just be successful.
And quite
let's
the
be
opposite,
honest.
actually. If you're pretty, you're very often by other women actually treated very not nicely, you know, because there's a
100%.
sense that there's like an extra level of jealousy that gets into the mix. That's just, you know, you feel it, right? Like if you're ever in an office and women are jealous of you, or there's that feeling of, you know, oh, she's
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I by no means I say, you know, because women, you know, they have it harder on the men and stuff like that. It's they don't have it harder. That's not what I'm talking about. They looked at different.
Yeah.
Because I, you know, frankly, me personally, right now, today, I know more successful women than successful men. And that's the truth. I don't know if it's the industry that I'm in, and that's why it's kind of disproportional, but it's true. I know so many women that they are the breadwinners in the family. They are the main source of income. And so do we have equal opportunities? Absolutely. You can do it. But it is always going to be, you know, oh, you got divorced very good, so you got some money left. Oh, that the car must be from your ex-husband. It's always going to be like that. And that's what I mean by we are just looked at different. It's unbelievable. You know, I went with my friend to a beautiful trip. My friend is very successful. She is the real influencer, millions of followers. All her money comes from doing the advertising and such, and very successful, very, very successful girl. And we went to this very nice trip in Paris, and we were, you know, you post a little stories and stuff like that, and the amount of comments and messages that we would both get, we got a kick out of it at some point. Who got worse, because that's what people would tell to me or her. Oh, so where's the guy that brought you there? Which sugar daddy paid for it? It's just ridiculous. If you're a woman and you have money, for a lot of people, you're going to be inspiration. But for some, you must do something that is shady, or that is, it must be only fences. And it's important to have these conversations online, because especially for the younger girls, you can't have your own normal business. The money doesn't come from women only from posting your ass pics or OnlyFans or being with a
goddamn
guy.
OnlyFans, I swear. Like, you know, it's like this thing.
And it's not only where the money comes from in
Right.
big amounts.
Yeah.
Money comes from doing normal things, from being educated. I always say, go to school and find something that you want to do as a job, for business, let's say, something that is your profession, because those two sometimes not connected. your formal education and stuff. I don't
Most
have
of
any
the time,
formal
actually.
education.
Most of the time, it's not connected, I find. Unless you're a
Yes.
member of like a regulated profession.
But I support that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you asked me that 10 years ago, and people tell me, well, you make money because I'm a high school dropout. I never even finished the school. And people tell me, well, you didn't finish the school. You're doing just fine. And I truly believe that if I went to university, did something bigger with the education part, I would be so much more far in life.
You
I
think
just know,
so?
absolutely. If I went to school for financing sometimes, I mean, if I went to school for financing or business or something that is money connected, something more serious that I understand more, of course I would go more far in life, because you making money in whatever that is it that you do is why you make more money than other people in the same industry, because you know more. Number one, it's the knowledge that you possess. You have more things in your head than other people.
But don't you think that, because how do you explain then that so many people have business degrees, but they don't know how to run a business?
Well, this is where I say it's different. And that's why I say do both. Because why do I say go and get a profession in the university, learn something? Because if you're not entrepreneur at heart and you're not resourceful and super savvy, at least you have a profession.
Right.
That's my point.
Right.
So I'm not saying, you go to university, you're gonna make money. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you're not gonna be poor. Because you possess a skill. You know how to do something. They taught you for 4 years
Yeah.
how to do something. So
Hopefully.
that's why you have to make smart choices when
course.
you choose a degree. Of course, I'm not going to go and learn arts and crafts or whatever. It's something that's not gonna make me money. I'm gonna go for something
Yeah.
that is promising, that is in high demand. You do your research.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right now, nowadays, you go anything finances related, business or IT related, you're gonna be hired. You're gonna be hired. You might not be rich, but you're not gonna be jobless. That's the difference. And so I am a mother now, and this is since
I was gonna
when?
say, I'm wondering if it's coming from
Absolutely.
you being a mother, and you're like, you know what? Yeah.
Because when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, dropping out of school and just figuring things out with 3 jobs and just surviving, I would tell you the opposite. I don't want to be in school. I have things to do. This is stupid, you know?
A lot of entrepreneurs don't fit in the system of schooling because for various reasons. But a lot of entrepreneurs, if you look at them, a lot of them, they didn't particularly fit in the systems of schooling. They had to figure things out on their own.
And that's okay too. But I'm saying if there is a possibility of doing both, and usually they don't fit into schooling, stuff like that. Honestly, just from what I see, from my own experience, I don't know much in life, but I do know what I see personally. And as a mother now, and looking at other families and other parents, mothers, it comes down usually to the parenting. It's the house you grew up in. Because in my house, nobody forced me to do anything. Nobody invested in my education. When I didn't understand something in school and my homework was bad, nobody cares. Or I would get punished for not being very smart. Now, you have parents that help you with homework. They explain you things. They hire you tutoring if it needed, something to help you. And when you understand better what you learn in school, you have more desire to proceed because you feel comfortable. People don't like school because they don't feel comfortable. They don't understand. They don't remember things that they learn. And it's because they usually don't have enough help in that part of your development. And so now you're a rebel.
Right.
Because you kind of left on your own, do what you want. So now there's another feeling kicks in of survival. Okay, so you think if I'm stupid in school and I can't do this, everybody can. It's the environment.
Yeah. And I will also add to that, it's much well, to me at least, maybe it's different for people. Some people need to have like a huge fire to get things done, or huge pressure. But sometimes it's good to have a plan B to fall back on. That way, when you embark on the journey of risky entrepreneurship that might not
And
work
it is
out,
risky.
you don't have this like, okay, well, if this fails, I'm like totally fucked, right? Like, it's like, I have a plan B to fall back on. And for some people, it's important to have a bit more of a relaxed mentality when they embark on that journey of
Because
entrepreneurship.
look, if I didn't have the talent, if I wasn't good with the tedious things and details and what I do, but now I didn't have education either, what would I do right now?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
And so, yes, when I was 16, 17 years old, I would tell you, oh, just go to work, just focus on making money. Because the reality is, when you're 16, 17, you don't know anything. You think you do, you don't. And so now when I'm older, and even though I do have pretty successful business and I'm good in life, I will always be good in life. I will still say, if it's about my son, for example, if somebody says, oh, but what if his passion is being, a DJ, nothing against DJs, but what if he wants to be a YouTuber? And I tell him, he can do all of that, but he's going to get a degree too. What, you're not going to let him just drop it? You drop that over my dead body.
Of course, because you went through it.
Over my dead body. Because I see people that in their 40s, 50s, struggling financially in life. Struggling. Why? Because they didn't obtain any profession through school. And maybe the talent that they thought they have, it wasn't enough to make any money. And you're not a entrepreneur, savvy type of person. So even if you had talent, you didn't know how to make money out of that talent. It's so many factors to it. And so I wish my parents would have forced me. I do. Because I really believe so, that I would be so much more than I am now with proper education too. Absolutely. There is never knowledge in your brain that is not necessary. Never.
Yeah.
It's never, when you learn something, it's never a waste.
You've spoken like a true Soviet woman. That's
But
exactly
it's
what, yeah, it's true. It's true.
The more you know, that's how the wisdom comes to, the experience. Now you know from one thing to another. You're in the industry with people doing the same things, and you happen to be better than a lot of people. Why? Because you know more.
Right.
And then you take all that knowledge and you apply it into your business.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You can know all that is in the world. What do you do with that, right? So that's, of course, another factor of it. But even though I'm ready to apply whatever there is to apply, if I don't have anything here, if I didn't learn enough, there is no money to be made in that business. And this is why when people reach out from different industries similar to mine, a nail industry and hair industry even, and they say, well, I really look up to you, and what do you think I should do, and what is your advice? And people really want advice that all of a sudden is going to be like a switch in their brain, and this is going to make them all the money in the world. And instead I go and I say, you find someone better than you in your business, you go learn from them.
Yeah.
If there is a possibility. Okay, so in my business, it's very easy because every big artist, successful artist, they usually offer courses if it's for lash artistry, which you have to start from being good as an artist. And then if there's business, there's marketing, because our marketing is very particular, for example. And so they offer all those things. It's available to you.
Yeah.
But no, up to here. I wanted a different advice. What else you got? Learning? No, it's not for me. Tell me something else that I can do.
Right.
And so this really is the core of the issue. The more you know, the more money you're going to make. More experience you have in doing different things, learning from more people. That's how you gain that experience that is so valuable to people, and that's why they pay you the money. That's why they hire you. That's why you become better than a lot of people in the industry, because you were willing to learn more, no matter how hard it was, no matter how far it was, how expensive it was, because it's investment in your own self, and it's never wasted. You only get bigger, you only get better.
Amen. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We will
Thank
link
you.
all of the things so that people can find you and find your courses in the captions of everywhere we'll post this episode. Thank you to our wonderful listeners for tuning into this episode. Please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button. You know what you need to do. It means more than you know. And stay blessed. I'll see you next week.